All right, I think that's a pretty good look at Wario's Woods. Let's go ahead and talk about this. All right, so Wario's Woods. So visually, I think it's a really impressive looking NES game, and there's a lot of options here. Clearly, round game, I suppose, is probably like your story mode. We didn't really get a chance to look at it because we were focused on multiplayer, which I think is for the best. Yeah, this game has a lot of mechanics, like a lot of mechanics. Some we knew, but a lot we didn't. Like, I think there was a lot of it was just kind of like stumbling around, just trying to like survive, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like if we probably looked into it more, we could probably figure out some of the controls. But like, just based on the experience that we had, I think there's a lot to be found here. But I really feel like you would need to like really absorb. It's not an easy to pick up and to play puzzle game. It's not the same as Yoshi, where you can figure it out really quickly. It's not like Dr. Mario, where it can get hard, but at least you can know the concept pretty quickly. It's definitely a lot more to it. Like, it's a very complicated puzzle game. Not one I would recommend to someone on there if they've never really played a puzzle game before, because, like, it's definitely a puzzle game, primarily. But the way you even control the game is like based on like 2D platforming mechanics in Super Mario Bros. 2. I see a lot of inspiration from Super Mario Bros. 2 in this game. The fact that you're playing as Toad and lifting up things like you do in that game. The fact that there's Pidgeots in this game and a Birdo from Super Mario Bros. 2. Like, I'm like, what? Just like, there's a low-key sequel to Super Mario Bros. 2 all this time we never knew. Yeah. What were you thinking? Like, how did this game feel to you?
Yeah, so there's definitely a reason I probably only played it once or twice. There's definitely more difficult than any of the ones that we played tonight.
Yeah, way
more complex.
Yeah,
there's a complexity level that obviously, even from you've spoken to the visual point, like it definitely is a much cleaner game.
Mm-hmm.
But it also had different difficulties and different challenges that the other games I don't think had. I wouldn't say it's probably the least fun one of the four that we played tonight.
I agree.
And it's probably because we didn't know the mechanics. Like,
yeah.
You know, it's 30 years since I played it. It probably had it probably is, if we had spent more time maybe going through the single player and figuring out more of the moves, probably makes more sense.
Mm-hmm.
It still has its place. I definitely don't think this one holds up as well.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the takeaway from this game. We didn't see everything it had to offer, but like it also, I think I agree that it doesn't really hold up as well as the other puzzle games, mainly because it's like like obviously there's advanced moves that can be learned as you go with any puzzle game, but every puzzle game, to me at least, like even though there is harder difficulties, it's at least easy to like grasp it. The fact that, like, this game feels like it has a little bit too much hidden for you to really, for like the average person to just like come on and jump into the game. Even like a game like Panel de Pon, like has some like really advanced techniques that you can employ. But as a regular person can go in and just have fun, just like making 3 or 4 combos and not have to worry about like the advanced stuff of Panel de Pon, unless you're fighting someone really good. In this case, you might want to know something. This one, I just feel like a struggle just to like even learn just learn what you're supposed to do, especially with some of those bunny enemies. So yeah, I think that's just a take away from it. If it's something that looks like it's really interesting to you, you would probably want to like take a minute to like see if it would be right for you. But as it is, I mean, it just didn't grab us right away. I don't feel. There's a lot to it. It's just I feel like if you're gonna play an NES puzzle game, I feel like you're better off playing either Dr. Mario or Yoshi, because those games are pretty easy to play with a friend and just have fun. This one, both people need to know what they're doing, and that might take a little bit.
Yeah, there's definitely more challenge to it than either of the other games.
Yep, for sure. Though, at the end of the day, I do think this is a really fascinating game. It just has so much weird stuff about it. Like, again, it's a puzzle game where you're playing platforming mechanics. Toad is the main character. Wario is the villain. Wario is the villain, but he has his name in the title. And it's an NES game that came out 3 years after the Super Nintendo. I think just the game's background is more fascinating than the gameplay itself, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think you chose a really good slate of games that had a lot of interesting mechanics, each of them was definitely different from the other. You could tell what era of the Nintendo they came from. But it was an excellent slate of games. It was really interesting to take that trip kind of down memory lane for sure.
Oh, I appreciate that. And yeah, that'll conclude puzzle games. But hey, man, we have a lot of more games to go through. Both in this season, our focus is on NES games, but in the future, we are going to do other systems of games. Season 2, I can just confirm right now, Super Nintendo. Beyond that, I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, we're going to be going through a lot of games in this series from all kinds of different years of the console life cycle. So I absolutely would welcome you to come back because this was a really fun episode, and we will definitely do more of these for sure in the future. Without question.
I had a great time. Thank you for having me on. It was a really interesting trip down memory lane, and it's some games that I have not played in a very long time. It was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. And I say this pretty much almost every episode now, but this has been a very fun series for me as well because it really is fun to like check out like a lot of these older games that have been around for 30 plus years, and seeing how they hold up. And sometimes when you actually take an extended period of time to actually play them and not just because what a lot of people do is because there's so many NES games on this app, people will just like look at something that they were curious about, play for 5 minutes and be like, haha, that's cool, and then just play, and then just like not touch it. With this whole series, I wanted to like take an extended time with some of these games and really see if and determine if a lot of them are still like genuinely fun games even today, because a lot of people assume there aren't. But honestly, after coming through this series, I think the only 2 games that have come out about feeling that they probably really don't hold up as well is this one and Wrecking Crew for the NES. Otherwise, I've been feeling pretty confident about all these games we've been playing. And that's surprising because that games this old still really hold up the test of time. Oh, wait, hang on. Metroid I also felt didn't really hold up that well, my opinion. I guess so like 3 games in total. But yeah, it's surprising. And a lot of the games that we have played on the show so far, I have played before, so a lot of them I kind of knew whether or not they would hold up today. But going forward, there's going to be a lot more games that I haven't played. Like Wario's Woods is just like one of many that I have never tried before. I'm curious to see how other games fare going forward. But that's enough rambling. So anyway, for